Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at 107.7 and 105.3 FM, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we're also on Roku, YouTube, Facebook, and the UPRN Talk Radio website. You can dial us in on any of those places. I invite you to come to my YouTube group, Bart Sharp 1, and join my group, become a subscriber. All of that is always so beautiful. If you notice, I am sitting on I guess on the right side. The way I'm sitting, it feels like the right side. Yeah, since there's no reverse angle when I look at the screen. I'm waiting for my guest tonight or today, Kymberly Kind. She's just going to walk through that door, come sit down right here, and we're going to start the show. We've had some power difficulties in Austin. My power is on, my internet is on, hers is not. So she is rushing through downtown or rushing through someplace. I hope that she is in confidence that everything's going to turn all right. And we will start the show when she starts. But, for me, I think I'm never at a lack of words, I think, is one of the things that maybe brought me to be a radio show host. Interesting enough, that was not always the case when I was a child. I had several near-death experiences, like 3 before I was 4 years old. And, what fun was that? I was this kid who never talked. And, I think I had a death wish, to be honest. Of course, nobody can prove that, but when I muscle test myself, and really, if you want to find out a lot about what is repressed inside of you, muscle testing is a great way to go in and ask questions and get answers. You're only as good as your questions. And even if you feel like you're biased in your information, just get somebody else to help you and you do it, and they empath your body. Anyway, I muscle tested and said, yeah, I was ready to check out. I didn't want to be there. I was in a family of 4, poor family, a lot of stress. I was the 4th child. So I was like, well, what the heck are you doing there? So here I am, and I was kind of a non-talker in the family. And maybe it's why I am on paranormal radio here, UFO paranormal radio, is because when I muscle test, I was probably had a lot of nice surgery happening. And all of a sudden, one day I woke up, and I do remember this. I woke up and I was in the bedroom with my 2 brothers and sisters. We all shared the same bedroom. It was a small 2-bedroom house out in the country in rural Texas. And rural Texas is primitive in the 1960s, in the early 1960s, late 1950s. And let's just say there were a lot of wild animals all around. Dirt roads, old trucks, no money whatsoever. We were just a rural people, a generation away from the grapes of wrath type of lifestyle where everybody was super poor. So here we are, and I'm standing there watching my brothers and sisters, or my sister, get ready for school and all of this chaos, and I'm looking at them for the first time and realizing that they're kind of real. And I'm going, who are these people? They are sure strange. I know them, but I don't know them. And that to me was my awakening type of thing. And it kind of matches up with who we have today, Kymberly Kind, who works with family constellations. I came into this family for certain reasons. We held certain things. We had certain unresolvable issues that began with my grandfather on my father's side, he was the real hellraiser in the family, abusive, but probably generations before that. So there were these seeds of that consciousness out there, conflicts that were unresolved. And let's just face it, whatever emotional turmoil that you had within a family in rural Texas in the 1950s, 40s, 30s, and before that was all repressed. There was no therapist or nobody to really help you resolve. The tools weren't there to really help you. So, violence was an important ingredient to getting things done. If you dominated somebody and they began to toe the line and follow what you said, followed your orders because you intimidated them or you whipped them or did whatever you're going to do with them, beat them or maybe punched them in the nose in a fist fight, and the problem was resolved. I mean, back then that was kind of therapy. That's how it worked. Now, I did not grow up with a picture of John Wayne on my mantelpiece, like in replacement of Jesus. We didn't have pictures in our family except for a family picture. We were that poor, couldn't even afford picture frames. But I have relatives that have John Wayne on the mantelpiece. And so I just want to tell you where I'm coming from is that type of inroads of violence that came from all segments of the family. And each family member who comes from a family, a mother or a father that's highly abusive, reacts in a different way. Some are passive, some are aggressive, some enact the same violence that their father or their mother did, whereas another one is very passive, but they may be very nervous. They may be the caretaker. They take on those roles as part of the family design. And it's the funny thing is that nobody gets to choose the roles. We're just kind of, you sprout out of the ground or out of your mom's womb, playing a certain role. And whether it be karmic or the order or the gender or just because your mother or father liked your smile or didn't like your smile, there's so many variables there, you start playing a role. And, you play that, with that. And what we really have to understand, kind of like rule number one, is there's no bad or wrong or good or right roles that a family plays or that you're assigned to. And when you start to get that judgment out of the way, going, well, I hate my caretaking. I'm always wanting to take care of everybody, or I hate that violence in me. If you just start to get into that neutral place of saying, no, that's the role I picked, and start allowing yourself to live in those judgments, or live without the judgments, excuse me, and just let them be, things start to move and change because you're starting to not use a part of your energetic being to repress that aspect of you. And this is huge. It's actualization, or excuse me, not actualization, realization that A, you played a certain role, and then B, you understand that role, and C, you start opening it to be differently. And the best way to be different is to let it be. I just hear the doorbell, so that must be Kymberly. I told her the door is unlocked, so we're going to give it just 1 second and see if she initiates and opens that door. I hear that door opening. I'm putting my psychic feelers in there to say, Kymberly, come down the hallway.
I just jumped Timelines.
Yes, it's no worries. So she's going to be coming in and sitting down, and we're right in mid-show, so no worries. Just put your stuff down, girlfriend, and come on over. I have a glass of water for you. It's just funny about family dynamics, about learning about those. And we're going to just segue into Kymberly when she comes over. I'm going to start talking about her bio. And Kymberly, there's no worries here. I know that you're going, WDF, here I am.
I am here. I made it.
I'm glad you're here. We've been talking about family dynamics. This is one of the shows I'm utterly fascinated with because I've done all of this type of work, but I have not done so much of the family constellations work. Mine's been more shamanic and psychological and all of those good things. So let's just start with your bio.
Sure, let's do that.
Dr. Kymberly Kind, DACM, and that'd be a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, is a highly skilled somatic trauma therapist, educator, and founder of Inner Harmony Therapy, a transformative healing modality delivering proven and lasting results. Dr. Kymberly Kind integrates both Eastern and Western healing approaches, bridging science and spirituality to support holistic and long-term healing. Based in Austin, Texas, she offers in-person and online sessions, so she's all around the world, and what that means, specializing in sacred family constellations, trauma recovery, and holistic wellness. So it's a lot about this combination of shamanism and other practices with advanced training in somatic therapy, ancestral trauma, and mind-body-soul integration. Dr. Kymberly guides clients to release deep emotional wounds and heal childhood traumas and restore nervous system balance. Through her private sessions, immersive retreats, and workshops, she creates sacred spaces for profound transformation, helping individuals reconnect with their essence and cultivate true inner harmony. And you can find Kymberly at www.itstimeforhealing.com. So that is a great one. She's also, we'll take this away. Okay, there we go. She's going to come back into the picture here. Welcome to the show, Kymberly.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be with you and also to share some more informations and knowledge. And I just got out of a big timeline. I made it, and it's been happening since last night, since we had our constellation yesterday. It was mind-blowing.
Okay, so when you say timeline, what does that mean?
So there was a big shift. It was a quantum leap, a quantum jumping. So a timeline can be us entering or separating ourselves from a different space that is all around present, future, and past. So the quantum field is all of the timelines together. There's no time and space. There's no past, future, and present. And this is also a big part of the healing work that we do in family constellation or ancestral healing, ancestral cord cutting. If you ever heard about all these practices, shamanic work also involves a lot of cord cutting.
Yes.
And since yesterday, I'm just going to dive right into it. And since last night, we had an epic constellation where we were visited. So, yes, we got a visitation all of a sudden. So, a powerful energy entered the space where the light started coming on and off on its own. while we were holding space for our healing sessions. And then all of a sudden we had a projector where the projector started showing different images and selecting different music and selecting different things that were not on our playlist originally.
So to give it a little bit of basis with this, I want to ask a couple of questions. Uh, so when you do this type of work, you're doing a family constellation exercise with someone who has a family issues. I get that part right?
Yes.
All right. So when you open this person and they bring their history in, and if you've done family constellations for any, I just want to give a little history how family constellations works. In other words, if one person who decides, well, I had this great trauma at 6 years old, for example, and I want to explore this, you would sit with Kymberly and write out the different people that were there and players in the game. And it could be your family, immediate family, it could be friends, it could be people in generations before you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes back. And so every person in the group that's not the person being worked on plays these roles.
Yes.
And so that's when we start to say, we're jumping into the collective consciousness.
Exactly.
Those players, somehow they're enacting their own parts and pieces, their own lives that are similar to the vibration of what we're exploring with the individual.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So what happens is that we enter a quantum field where all the information, all the consciousness, the collective, the personal, it's also can be said as a Akashic records. So it's where all the knowledge, all the information is transferred, is held, is in that space of time, and we share that together as a whole collective, and we share it as individual stories, as individual patterns that needs to be learned, different lessons that needs to be revisited or cut off. And sometimes, and most of the time actually, there's just so much healing we can do on our own. There's just so much things that we can see and we can feel, but we need the support as a collective, and we need the support as a group to go into deeper spaces and to see things that, you know, we might have missed out. And because also we are so used to certain things and we're programmed in a certain way where sometimes things that are not natural to us or are not considered normal behaviors, we believe in our systems, they're normal behaviors. This is how it goes because mom and dad have been doing this for years. Grandpa and grandma have been doing this also. So it becomes kind of a culture and it becomes a tradition in our systems. But we're not realizing that outside of our system, this is not how things are supposed to be. We're not supposed to hold on to all this pain. We're not supposed to repeat cycles the way that we are doing it. And that's when our bodies, our mind, and our souls starts to feel uncomfortable, and we start feeling pain. We start feeling different ways inside of us. We start having a lot of physical pain. Somatic experiences is the most highest that it's ever been right now with the whole collective, where people are coming and saying, I've never felt this pain before. I've never had this back pain. I've never, you know, even people that don't really do manual labor or do anything that could bring up these feelings in their bodies. So as a collective, we are seeing shifts, and we are seeing different things that are signs for us to do the healing, to do the ancestral work.
Yes, and you know, what stimulates me, by the way, there's a glass of water for you. I knew she would be a little bit excited and She needed water when she came in. So when we think about going in and just knowing your story about whatever's happened in your life, I mean, that's kind of the first thing. You're intellectually recalling this stuff, and then you might start doing some sort of somatic experience, feeling it in your body. Then you might take it another step and go shamanic, or do something like cranial sacral, or a lot of other things that go into a body base slash energetic experience with that. But you're dealing with your own story in most part in relation to your family. Whereas when you're interacting with a group, you're bringing up the entire collective consciousness of the family all at once. Am I getting that kind of right?
Yes, completely. And then also, as a collective, you also understand that we're all the same and how we as a collective affect each other and how the timeline overlaps each other and how, I might experience something now that you've already experienced. So it's also a way of sharing knowledge and
Yeah.
experience where the wisdom is also transferred through this way, where, okay, it doesn't mean that you have better or you know better. It just means that you've experienced it already.
And I have a vibration that emanates not only in my physical body, but in my uh, astral bodies, holding that information.
Mm-hmm.
And it interacts with everybody around me.
Yes, completely. And this is part of the aura. Certain people will have a different identity within their aura field, within their energy field. And that's what, can also make a difference of we're not just physical body, we're physical, we're spiritual body, emotional body, and so much more, astral body, soul body. And then in the field, when we enter family constellation, or even when we do these ancestral work, we enter all of the bodies to heal them at the root, to heal the root cause of what needs to be seen and what needs to be heard.
And if that seems sort of foreign to you, I want to explain it a little bit. You have a physical body that holds memories of everything you've done in this lifetime, other lifetimes, other dimensions, other realities. But then you have energetic fields outside of you that hold vibrations, and there's 6 of them. But the first 3, the astral, the emotional, and the causal body, hold all kinds of memories of human existence.
Yes, correct. And one of the real important ways to understand that is during the shamanic teachings that explain that you need to speak truth. You need to be who you are. You need to embody your truth to be able to heal and to move forward. And this, for the past hundreds of years, has been lost, but it's coming back. We're having a big shift where people want to go back to the root of knowledge. They want to go back to the real traditional, if I may say, medicine, the traditional healing, the natural healing as well, because our bodies are asking for it. Our bodies are craving that healing. And in previous years, shamanic healing used to be really normal. It used to be something that we do within our families. We had the big grandma circles, the big brother circles. We used to have all of these very tight family system where we heal each other, we help, we support each other, and we go into initiation and these journeys together. But since the family system has been broken through trauma and multiple other things that came into this realm, and the loss of knowledge, the loss of understanding and compassion and truth, the loss of truth also created a disconnection from the ethereal body, the emotional body, source. It created a disconnection from the truth of humanity, the truth of who we are, who you are, the truth of what we are and what we need, our true needs as a truth. And now the body is craving for it. This is why we're seeing so much somatic experiences being felt and needed.
Yes, it's a growing consciousness, I think, particularly the last 30 years. Therapists were starting to do somatic approach. Shamans begin to start to appear. Let's just say they weren't shamans, they were just people that started to have these internal gifts to perceive beyond their mind, of an energetic world, of an emotional world, how those two link together. And it's just been growing tremendously. So we began the show by you sharing about the light show, so to speak, and and we kind of lost track with that. Why don't you think about that? Because we're already at halfway point of show. So I want to tell everybody that you are listening to Kymberly Kind. It's timeforhealing.com is how you reach her. She's a shamanic family constellations practitioner, acupuncturist, a lot of things. The list is long there. You can find her in Austin, and it's time for healing once again. My name is Bart Sharp. This is Becoming Quantum Conscious, and you are on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. So let's talk about what happened the other night, because you were telling me that when the constellation circle gets moving and everybody's playing out their roles, all of those energies of each individual and the situation that you are exploring and it expanding within the room opens to something much, much bigger.
Yes, we're holding space for the unknown, the unseen, which is the energies that we carry with us, which is inside of us, the knowledge, the understanding, the codes. We're holding space for the truth of you, the essence of you. And what we realize is also that we may carry things that we didn't understand or we couldn't put words to. And the experience is, how can someone play the role of my mother or my father or a great great grandma and know exactly how that person is, how that person feels, or certain things. Like, most of the time people will be like, how can she be my mom? She doesn't know my mom. How can she be my father? She doesn't know my father. And then there's a reflection that happens where that person starts embodying their parent and starts saying things that only that they would know.
I love it. I go to family constellations over the years, and it always amazes me. I'll be assigned a role, like the big brother, for example. And as soon as they say big brother, and they go, and you go walking over to the position in the room that you're going to be standing in or sitting in, something comes into you. I'm a very sensitive guy, and I can feel presence, but that energy or that something starts to work inside of you.
Yes.
It's phenomenal.
Yes, completely. There's still, it is now scientifically proven that this modality does work and is very efficient to break cycles and to shift patterns within your family system, within yourself. And to this day, there isn't really a big explanation than only what shamanic experience can tell you, which is the separation of the lost souls, so the souls that are out of body, that have not closed their cycles, that are attached to souls that are in body, and they are repeating the cycles. So it's a way of closing the infinity loop by closing that pattern and understanding. The shaman used to say, these are the cycles that needs to be closed, or you will be trapped into repeating those patterns within your system. So there was an
Interesting.
understanding and a teaching from that, um, in understanding how it works. But the Western world is a little bit, let's say, more advanced in understanding and also acknowledging the presence of the lost souls and its energies that are with us that we don't see.
It's interesting that it's a German orientation, and I wanted to say hello to Laura Rose Everything for piping in there. I love New Orleans too. But it comes in German origins, but when you speak of it, I always get the knowing that I got from my American Indian uh, heritage, that we know we're connected to everything. We're connected to the stars and, this whole big atmosphere. So naturally, when we address something, as you say, information is going to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But it was
So,
German, right?
yes.
Okay.
So Bert Hellinger is one of the doctor that brought this to the Western medicine, to the Western way of healing family system through systematic system through family constellation, and he had to bring it to the Western world and taking out the spiritual aspect of it, so it will make more sense and be easier, an easier fit for society of the Western world. But originally, his studies comes from the Zulu tribe in Africa, and that's where he understood what family system was, and family constellation was created from the original shamanic um, group of the Zulu tribe in Africa.
Wow. Interesting.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Ab- uh,
sorry.
no, no, but ancestral or aboriginal beings
Exactly.
of the land who knew that
Yes.
they were connected to everything.
Exactly. And the work was a little bit deeper, and he's done many studies there, and he was a missionary. He's done a lot of work with different tribes there, and they understand. Even my tribe where I come from, we were always taught that the soul needs to ascend, and when people pass away, we need to help them and we need to support them elevate, because if they don't elevate, that means we're going to repeat cycles and we're going to repeat the pain, and the grief needs to be um, done. And there was traditions of how do we get to that and how do we embody it, and it was all frequency and energy work. It was involving drumming, music, sound healing, frequency, that was helping the souls elevate. And then, it will help you release those patterns, because if that soul is free, it's not stuck in your family system anymore.
Mm. So much is important about a acknowledgement and taking it beyond the mind. The mind begins it, but then something deeper takes it out.
Yes.
You told me of a story when we were talking last week about your own life, and that was a great story.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share a little bit about
Sure,
that?
sure. Sure, I would love to share a little bit more details, and how, if you dig in a little bit further into your life, you can really unlock some beautiful stories and knowledge and understanding. So when I was a younger girl, around 5-ish, 6, I started having like these weird, really weird, from that time, nightmares, if you can say nightmares, um, dreams, whatever you may want to call it. And it was always the same thing that I would see is men in uniforms running after me with guns and trying to kill me. And I would be hiding in the forest. I could remember the trees being very tall and hilly, and I could remember just being so frightened. And it was the repeating dream that would come on almost every night for years and years and years until I think I was about 15 or 16. That's when it kind of stopped a little bit. And I was just having such a hard time. And I would go to my grandma, I would go to my mom. I would, sometimes I would feel like, oh, these men are actually coming after me right now at night. So I would sneak into my mom's room, or my siblings. I will stay with them because I was so afraid. And years later, this is about 2 years or 3 years ago, my father called me and was like, "Hey, I need to tell you about your mom and his mom and his dad passing away." And this was very taboo-ish, subject where we never talked about it, and I never really knew how my grandparents from my dad's side passed away. And I said, "Sure, let me hear you." And he explained to me that during the war, the colonization between France and Algeria, my grandmother and my grandfather were living in a city near the water in the Mediterranean Sea called Jijin in Algeria. And during that time in 1962, the colonization was over. France left the country or was to leave the country. And during that time, there was many generals and many officers that refused to leave the country, and they refused to end this war or this colonization. And at the time, my grandmother, from what I understood years later, was a healer, and she was also a shaman. And she started feeling something was happening that was not right. So she gathered all the children from the neighborhood, and she asked them to all leave and go to the city because something dark was happening. And at that moment, my father at the time was about 4 years old. And all the children started leaving and going down the hills into the city. And at one point, my father said all the children were walking away, and they started seeing the French military attacking the village and bombing the village. And at that time, that's when my grandmother passed away, and she had just had her last child that she was carrying with her, which was a few months old. So my uncle, the newborn baby, and her passed away, bombed by the French military. And at the time, we didn't understand what happened. This was the first time I heard this story ever. And my father said he doesn't really remember how his mom looks or his father. And, I was trying to get more information, and I was seeing it visually in my mind. And then he started speaking about his dad, saying that his dad, um, after seeing the village getting bombed while they were all working down in the land, farming and taking care of all the animals, they started going back up, checking on everyone. Whoever was there, the elders and all the women were dead. And they decided to go to the military base and ask questions about what's happening. They thought war was over, colonization was over, so it just didn't make sense. And once they arrived at the gate, they started being shot at. The military base opened fire on all the men that were standing at the gates, and my grandfather was one of them with my eldest uncle. And they started running into the forest and hills to hide out. And the military um, officers asked that every single person from that village be killed before they
Wow.
left. So they were hiding running, and finally they were found, sorry, and they lost their life. And after that, they all were thrown into the river, all the bodies. And at that moment, I could visually see that all these nightmares that I was having was actually my dad, my grandpa, my dad's dad, passing away, being chased in the hills in that village. And then all the bodies were thrown in the river. And every time I would wake up, I would wake up completely wet from head to toe. I was sweating so much, and I felt like I had just out of a bath, and it didn't make sense to me. And when my dad told me the story, it immediately brought me to tears, and I understood that what I was seeing is my grandfather passing away, and I was experiencing it in the body and in the mind for years and years and years, and not knowing that it wasn't really me, but it was the memory of my grandpa's death.
Mhm. And maybe because this is an abrupt death with no processing, nothing, no time to really go through the steps of what death and dying was, just something like that, it creates a trauma that is more pronounced a lot of times than somebody who does have time to process, who does go in grace.
Yes.
And you've been holding that.
Yes, completely. And I didn't understand why I was so afraid of death as a 6-year-old and so afraid of being killed. It just doesn't make sense.
Which was your father who never told you
Yeah.
that traumatic experience is something that he had to start age 4 on. Like, that's your starting point, son. Your dad's dead, and you got to make it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this trauma of his loss.
Yes.
That's kind of an intense thing.
Yes, and it made me actually realize like how much trauma my dad was holding on to, and how much pain and grief and sorrow, because he lost both of his parents on the same day with his siblings and everything he knew or known at that time, his safety, his home. He relocated, and there was no grief, and he wasn't taught how to grieve, but also there was no truth speaking, where these stories are not shared most of the time, because we sometimes feel like it's too sad, or we don't talk about bad things. It's not good to bring it back up, or it might manifest other things. And in the truth of the truth is that it helps your body release the memory of things, of the pain. It helps grief. It helps you become whole inside, and let go, like your organs, your cellular memory is recording all this pain, and then the body keeps repeating it and thinks that it's still happening in the present time.
It's a big picture, and everything isn't linear. When you're talking about your family and those that you've loved, you may have lots of past lives with them. It also, if you talk to people who uh, talk to the people who've transitioned, they're very much actively involved in your energetic fields. So when you did this work on yourself, and I'm assuming you've done some work on
Oh yeah.
this.
That's where it started. I was like, oh my God, that's a lot of stuff.
How do you think it affects your family? And how does it
So
affect you?
me doing the work,
Yeah.
it has shifted so many things around me, around the people, my family, but also all the people around me, whether it's in the job, in the career, whether it's in, friendship. It helps you create such a big shift of different, energies. But I didn't know that I needed the healing that much until I started the healing. And that's when you really understand that that's what my body was needed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my soul was craving for, was a little comfort, a little being seen, being heard and understood. For years, me being, sorry, I'll remove my glasses, me being such a young girl and not understanding how much grief and how much pain I was carrying from my family. But
Well, you're used to it.
exactly, exactly. It's like, you just have to carry all these baggages with you. It's normal. But it transformed my life, where I find myself at peace now. I find myself at peace to um, feel good inside my body. I feel at peace in my mind. It resolved a lot of like unknown mystery, unknown, illnesses, unknown mental illness, physical illness, things that, even though you may practice a lot of different things, and there's still like unsolved mysteries, there's still unsolved um, stories that are still holding you, feel you're being held down.
Mm.
So it did help me with overcoming a lot of things within my family system. It helped me forget and forgive more people, and it helped also create a loving energy, the where I feel like truth is love and love is truth, and it is necessary to speak truth in order to receive and to give love. It is very necessary for our bodies and our mind and our soul to be resolved by truth. And it's
Mm.
not that complicated to share your pain, to share, your issues, your problems, to ask questions. I know sometimes it feels like we can't really connect with our families, but this is why we have these modalities now available, where family constellation is the new way of sharing family problems and issues and patterns and unlocking truth that's within you.
You know, when you have a parent that is abusive, or they've gone through their own trauma and they're in extreme pain for whatever reason. For example, I know a woman whose older sister was labeled with autism, and so the whole family focused on to to the young woman that they didn't have an answer for, and this other woman, the younger woman, spent her whole archetype trying to find her own place to a family that was preoccupied.
Mm-hmm.
The traumas and dysfunction happen in many, many ways, but what we don't really remember is that we live in that scenario every day. And so we compile these judgments and these ill feelings. It could be traumatic feelings, it could be extreme anger, shame, or sadness, or whatever, fear, every day. And they're huge. And we don't even know that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start to get into this big picture, and I'm not going to say that, well, if you do therapy and you do energy work, this is kind of like the next step. Well, I think it's that's a good assumption. You can do it without the therapy, but us who do therapy and different types of energy work and shamanic work know there's a lot of different styles that we want to go through
Mm-hmm.
to experience at different perspectives. And that's what I love about family constellations. It's very unique in what it offers to society and the individual.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very. And like you said, there's many ways of experiencing it, and facilitators are all different. And the energy, obviously, the imprint that every facilitator carries, or every practitioner, will be different. And you just have to keep searching for your perfect match.
How has it changed you? Because you do shamanic work, you do acupuncture do a variety of things, including uh, family constellations. How does it affect your work, your life in general?
So I will say that I really found a lot of breakthrough with family constellation on my personal life, which has helped me evolve and understand, like we said earlier, a lot of pains or mystery of grief or not understanding why sometimes also we feel and we see ourselves stuck in some cycles of, okay, it's the same pattern, why am I still here, what's going on, I feel like I'm choosing different but it's still happening. And then in my work, the more healing that is happening and breakthrough, I'm receiving that healing for me. So there's this exchange and it's beautiful.
Mm,
There's this exchange of um, when someone does the work and they're really, really focused on healing themselves, understanding the patterns, understanding how it can bring peace to the whole system and their life and really change their life overnight. Like I've seen like amazing things happen and amazing stories where I'm just, at awe of like, wow, like this is really happening. So I'm really passionate about this work and I cannot even say that it's a work. I will say I'm very passionate about it and it's just what I was supposed to be doing.
well, that's wonderful. We just have a couple minutes left, so tell us what project you're doing and different things that you want to tell people about that's going on with Kymberly Kind.
Yeah, sure.
And that website is timeforhealing.com.
Yes, so we have beautiful this weekend, Saturday, we have a beautiful women's gathering. It's called Sacred Sparkle, and it's also involves divine feminine codes. So we're going to activate, we're going to help these women that are looking for sisterhood, motherhood, grouping of, coming together and healing in presence, holding space for each other, and, sharing knowledge, understanding, just how we used to do in the old times, having our grandma circles, our mother circles. So that's gonna be very amazing. So I hope I can see you all there, and I'll share the details for it. And then Tuesdays, we still have our Tuesdays constellations. We'll be posting that as
Mm-hmm.
well. So it's every Tuesday from 5 to 10 p.m. And we have integration with it. We have a beautiful community that is coming stronger and stronger together, holding space for each other and helping and supporting each other is very important during this time of changing and transferring, and especially when you are unable to communicate with your family or understanding certain things. So family constellation is on Tuesdays and you guys can come and try it and be part of this beautiful community.
Also, you do private sessions over the internet, so you're available to anybody in the world doing something of a shamanic practice as well.
Yes, and I'm also doing French sessions, so
Woo!
everybody in France and also all French speaking countries can reach out to me.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, and I can help you with whatever needs resolving.
Cool. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show, Kymberly. It's been great. Um, I wanted to let everybody know that you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious, and this is Dr. Kymberly Kind. It's timeforhealing.com. This is also Becoming Quantum Conscious. This is the show. I am Bart Sharp on United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3. And we will see you next week with Patricia Rousseau, and we're going to be exploring sacred sites of Paris. So we're going to go into Mary Magdalene, Isis, and all kinds of really ancient and cool stuff that she leads tours and does energy work there. So we'll see you next week. Have a great day. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kymberly.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.